the Indianapolis Colts have signed former All-Pro, or should I say former Pro Bowl left tackle Eric Fisher, formerly from the Kansas City Chiefs. Unfortunately, Eric Fisher did tear his Achilles in the AFC Championship this past season. Herein lies my concern and frustration with the organization that I call my favorite team. Eric Fisher will be on a 1-year, $9.4 million deal to join the Indianapolis Colts this season. Based off of the reports that Kyle and I read, they don't expect him to even be available to come back until October, leaning more towards November at the earliest. We all know that an Achilles injury can take up to a year for a full recovery. And obviously, at any position in football, you are using your feet literally every 5 seconds. And obviously, him being a lineman, he is blocking up to 600 total pounds on his feet every day. So that is quite stressful for me to know that we gave a person coming off of an Achilles rupture or tear $9.4 million. Granted, I know Chris Ballard's not an idiot, and I would assume a lot of that is incentive-based and, recovery-based. They're not going to give him 9.4 fully guaranteed. The complete details of the contract haven't been revealed, but I am very curious to know what that breakdown is, because if he's not available until, let's say, November, December, at the end of the season, pending if the Indianapolis Colts are postseason bound, he would probably start the last 3 to 4 games of the year to kind of shake that rust off and be the blindside protector to Carson Wentz. I don't know if that's enough time to shake rust off or prepare yourself. And again, this is all pending PT goes well, rehabilitation, the doctors, the team doctors, and all the specialists clear him to go back to full-on activity. I'm just not happy with this signing, because when I saw that we were pulling him in for a visit, my mind goes, when we bring a player in for a visit, when any NFL team brings in a player I always see a visit as a tryout. If Eric Fisher isn't fucking physically able to try out or, perform his job duties, why did you bring him in? To talk to him? You can do that over the phone. You literally are going off of last year's film, which granted was great film, but he is now, I believe, in either his late 20s, like right on the cusp of 30, or early 30s, coming off of a fully repaired Achilles injury. I don't know if this was a smart acquisition. I get it. It's for depth. I understand. It's to make sure that Carson does have some form of protection at the most important time of the season. But you're giving the man $9.4 million. I'm not happy about that. If this was a 2-year team option for $9.4 million, I would say that would make more sense, because we don't know what Eric's going to produce if he does play. If he comes in on the last 3 to 4 games and we make a postseason run, hell, if we go to a Super Bowl and he plays great, you give him an extension because you have that team option. If he plays great, he's going to get a fat contract at the end of this season regardless. But I'm just saying, there is still a high percentage chance that there could be a setback. He can re-aggravate it. We're talking about an Achilles tendon, not a sprain, not a fracture, your Achilles. And we all know the caliber of athletes that have ruptured Achilles in all of sports. Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, and a litany of other players in all sports. And we all know that is a grueling recovery process. And football is the most physical sport in the world. And for you to tell me you're going to get $9.4 million without even touching the field for us, it leads me to be concerned. Again, granted, Chris Ballard's not an idiot. I trust Chris Ballard completely. He has shown in the last 3 years of being our general manager, he not only knows how to draft, but he knows how to spend the cap, and he knows how to make sure to save money where we need it. In retrospect, I don't know how this helps us save, because we still have to re-sign all-pro guard Quentin Nelson to an extension, as well as Darius Leonard and Braden Smith and some other players. So I'm just kind of looking at Ballard like, we just paid all of our rookies except for, I think we signed every rookie except for maybe 2 or 3. And we have to give those players extensions that rightfully deserve them. So what in the hell are we doing right now, signing a guy that isn't going to touch the field until possibly a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving? This much money.
It's a fair point. But who do the Colts currently have to protect Carson's blind spot?
Our blind side is trash. It's some guy named Davenport and Tunzel, not Laramie Tunzel, some random, I don't even know, man, some scrubs. Like when people rated or people looked at their, I don't know if it was Pro Football Focus's overall rating or something like that. We all know Pro Football Focus is trash, but like overall at the left tackle position, the players that we signed, like I think his name is Devi or whatever, they were at the bottom tier of eligible players on the left tackle position, at the left tackle position. So, I mean, Ballard's sitting here signing dirt lickers for chump change to create depth. And then we go inside a guy with one leg. So it's like, are we trying to build a three-legged machine, or are we going to start chopping body pieces of the three of them to make one cohesive left tackle? Because I really don't know what the hell's going on here.
I mean, he was a rock for Kansas City for basically almost a decade. So, granted, I know coming off an Achilles injury is tough, but I will say this. With Eric Fisher, I wouldn't put it past him to recover from this as quickly as he can. Granted, I know this is not the same. I know this person is not the same player as Eric Fisher, but I remember Isaiah Wynn of the New England Patriots. He suffered a torn Achilles coming into his rookie year, and he has been one of the most consistent tackles that New England's had in quite some time. So I think as long as Eric Fisher stays on track with his rehabilitation process, that's probably going to put him somewhere to come back, like you mentioned, probably in the last half of the season, maybe the last quarter of the season. And I will say this, though. He could definitely add a nice veteran leadership presence to the offensive line. Granted, Quentin Nelson is the standout of that offensive line, but having somebody like Fisher there, being able to mentor some of those younger guys, especially those guys that are going to be protecting that left side of the line for Carson for at least the first half of the season, having Fisher there can definitely be a positive impact for those players. And who knows? Could Fisher just be a depth acquisition? That's how I kind of see it. But I think once he gets cleared, he's going to be the starter. He will be the starter at some point this season. And if the Colts end up making the playoffs this year, I think he's going to be a vital piece to how the Colts are going to be able to run the ball and pass. So I think if they definitely get him back in the lineup as soon as possible, granted it's going to be, probably at the earliest November, maybe the latest December. I highly doubt that he's going to miss the entire season. Granted, I know Achilles injuries take a long time to recover from, but I'd be surprised if he doesn't play this season. And it tells me that the reason why Chris Ballard signed him was because he expects Fisher to be ready, at least with some games left in the regular season. That's just how I kind of see it.
I can only hope, like we know that I know that this draft would probably be one of the weirdest draft classes that the Colts have had in the last 3 to 4 years, just because we knew we had some players or some positions to address, and we didn't necessarily address them completely. Mm-hmm. We needed a left tackle. We drafted one tackle. We needed a wide receiver. We drafted one wide receiver. We did address the pass rush situation, which was good with our first 2 picks. We did draft, I believe, another tackle or defensive lineman later in the draft as well. We drafted another quarterback, the guy out of Texas, and we also drafted a tight end out of SMU to kind of do that Jack Doyle. I mean, not Jack Doyle, to replace Trey Burton with the athleticism and his catch radius. I believe his skill set is kind of similar to his, but obviously at a rookie price. It's just a weird draft class. We didn't address everything we needed, but we did address certain things, and we did sign the scrubs at left tackle. So maybe we get lucky and one of them wake up and realize that, we can win a Super Bowl. Please step the fuck up. I have no hopes for them, but the Fisher signing itself, I mean, only time will tell. That's literally all we can do, and hope that his rehab has absolutely bars no setbacks, and that he comes back healthy and strong and ready to protect Carson Wentz. Because if Carson is getting a beating on the left side because of those 2 numbskulls that Ballard signed, I don't know how well we're going to be doing in that point of the season when we get to Eric Fisher coming back. Because if Carson starts running for his life again, or if Carson starts taking a beating like he did in Philly, you might see another relapse of last season. So I can only hope that we find some better protection or that Eric Fisher comes back 100% healthy before Christmas, or should I say before Thanksgiving?